Well, good afternoon, and welcome everyone to our salon, to the salon on the Mozart and the Stein piano with our special guest Keiko Shichijo. For those of you who visited our workshop last year, she was a guest in Hunter at the Catskill Mountain Foundation and performed and taught classes there. But she lives in the Netherlands, and you'll meet her soon. My name is Maria Rose. I'm talking to you from the Catskills in a beautiful afternoon. Hopefully, a beautiful evening in other parts of the world. And we all welcome you and hope you enjoy one more hour of Fortepiano performance before the summer. Before I continue, I would like to, as you see in the chat box, to let you know about all the events that will be taking place next week at the Catskill Mountain Foundation or at the Piano Museum in Hunter, where we have our 7th Fortepiano workshop. Actually, we have 3 workshops. We first have a piano technicians workshop. Then we have a piano performance, Fortepiano performance workshop. And then we have a chamber music workshop. And all 3 of them, we have a lot of students coming this year. I think like 11, 14, 15, 16, 17 students. So it's going to be a big crowd. So if you're in the neighborhood, there are many public and many free concerts. The student recitals are all free. And we also have special guests, including Elisaveta Miller from Russia, who is teaching in Montreal and is a wonderful fortepiano and harpsichord performer. And she will join us on the opening concert. So please take a minute to look at our program on our website or at the CMF website. And now I will hand it over to Iheng and Patricia.
Hello, everyone. I'm Patricia Garcia-Gil. I am based in Greensboro, North Carolina, where I've just graduated with a DMA in historical keywords. And I want to encourage everyone to participate in any way by attending concerts or in the next edition of a Fortepiano Academy in the Catskills Mountains, because I've been there twice, and it's been one of my favorite experiences in my life where I've learned so much. And I've met wonderful people who are Fortepiano lovers, like everyone who is here today. Thank you for being here with us one more time. I also want to take advantage of announcing a conference that is related to keyboards and of course, Fortepianos as well, which is happening at the end of June between the 26th and the 29th in Colonial Williamsburg, Virginia. The name of this conference is Cultural and Material Histories of Historical Keyboard Instruments in Colonial British America during the American Revolution. And this is organized by the Historical Keyboard Society of North America. Thank you. I'm looking forward to more upcoming events, announcements that are happening today, album releases, and I will say more. So I have the people who are releasing these albums talking about them. So Yihan, please let us know.
Thank you, Patricia and Maria. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the International Fortepiano Salon. And we have a wonderful guest artist who I'm delighted to introduce very soon. But before that, as you know, if you're a returning viewer from around the world, please write your name and where you're viewing from in the chat box, your YouTube or Facebook live stream comment section. We love hearing from you. And sometimes you may recognize names of other music lover friends from around the world. So the reason that we have this salon is to connect one another in our passion for early keyboards. And if this is a way of virtually staying connected and being together. So please say hello right now in the comments. We want to hear from you. We want to know where you're viewing from. And we thank you so much for your continued support and viewership, keeping these programs going. And today I have the great privilege of introducing a wonderful guest artist who, as Maria Rose mentioned, was a guest teacher at the Academy of Fortepiano Performance in the Catskills last year, Keiko Shichijo. Keiko, welcome. I'm speaking from New York City to you. Tell us where you are, Keiko.
Thank you for introducing me. Thank you for having me. First of all, I'm really honored to be with you. Yeah, I am based in Amsterdam, so based in Europe. And last year I joined the festival in Catskill, and I had a great time there, teaching and playing, and then spent a wonderful time with a wonderful colleague who were all really great players, and it was amazing for me. So I'm really happy to see you again here, and then to be able to share so much about fortepiano, historical performance style, everything.
Yes, I'm so glad you visited us in person, and you're visiting with us today in the Salon. And Keiko was one of my classmates when I embarked on serious fortepiano study. As a graduate student, I moved myself over to Amsterdam, and there was a wonderful cohort of fellow fortepiano students. And as a teacher now, I can tell you that the quality of your colleagues and classmates is almost just or more important as everything else in terms of what happens in your schooling. And Keiko definitely was already a great artist and pianist that I admired and learned from so much. And it's been wonderful to follow your career. Keiko is a 2-time prize winner of the Brugge International Fortepiano Competition, and also many other competitions. And she's now a faculty member of piano and fortepiano in Tilburg, right? Yeah. And other schools. And she has wonderful albums. One of the recent ones I've really enjoyed is of solo Mozart piano music on the fortepiano with very gorgeous stylistic improvisations as well. So I've always admired, Keiko, your artistic sense of adventure in both playing early music on fortepianos, doing new music. It's all part of a really integrated sense of vision in what you do. So today we're going to have Keiko talk a little bit about her projects, and we'll hear her play some Mozart on the Stein. But before we get to hear her play, Keiko, you wanted to tell us what's coming up for you this summer, because we've been announcing a few wonderful gatherings for one already.
Yeah, this summer I will be teaching and playing in Zutphen in the Netherlands, in the festival called Baroque Festival Zutphen. And the theme of this festival this year is the German Lied. So we will be playing and teaching the music around the German Lied. So there will be some Schubert, there will be some Mozart, and master class would be also held by all the players. And you can sign up for the master class either together with your singer or also individually, and then you get to play. You get to play there, and then you will be coached by the wonderful players, wonderful singers. So that would be between the 10th of July until the 14th of July, if I remember correct. I think. Let me check. Yes, between 10th and the 14th of July in Zutphen. So everybody's welcome.
Thank you for that invitation. It sounds like a great opportunity. And in your chat box, there's a link to this festival if you want to learn more about it and think about participating. So now, Keiko, we're going to hear you perform a pre-recorded performance of Mozart. Could you tell us a little bit about what we're about to hear and on what instrument you're playing?
Yeah. Yes, recently I recorded Mozart. It's going to be my second CD dedicated to Mozart. and I have recorded. I would just the main program is the F major sonata 3-2, the Kefel 322. No, 332. Sorry, in F major, and the modulating prelude from F major to C major, and Mozart Fantasy in C minor, 475, and then C minor sonata, 457. So those are the main program, and I recorded on the original instrument from 1802 made by Stein. So it is made by the daughter and the son of Father Stein, who Mozart talked really highly about. And he also mentioned about Stein's instrument in his letter to his father. Then he was so, you can see in his letter, he was so happy to get to know to Stein's instrument. So I had a wonderful opportunity to get to know to this instrument and to record.
So first we're going to hear Keiko perform on her original Stein piano. And after this, we'll have a discussion about more on the history of Stein in music and in relation to Mozart. Okay, wonderful. So this is Keiko Shichijo playing the first movement of the F major sonata of Mozart, Koschel 332, on a Stein Fortepiano original. Bravo, Keiko.
Thank
That was
you.
Keiko Shichijo playing a very elegant and expressive version of Mozart's K332 F major sonata, first movement. You heard some beautiful ornamentation. I love how much bite and articulation this instrument has. So we want to talk a little bit about the Stein family piano building dynasty. And your piano has an interesting nomenclature. So why don't we start talking about Stein's pianos in general, but you can talk about your piano and the naming of it and the provenance, and we'll
Yes,
yeah.
maybe I thought it would be interesting to share Mozart's letter, which I have maybe here a little bit. And then I don't know if we have time to read it through, but then I would just, with my poor English, I would try my very best.
Okay.
I think this was 1777 when he visited Stein's workshop in Augsburg, and then he encounters Stein's instrument for the first time. And then he wrote to his father, Leopold, and this time I shall begin at once with Stein's pianist. Before I had seen any of his make, Spade's clavier had always been my favorite, but now I much prefer Stein's, for they done ever so much better than the Regensburg instruments. And then I skipped between. In whatever way I touch the keys, the tone is always even. It never jars, it is never stronger or weaker or entirely absent. In a word, it is always even. It is true that we do not sell a pianoforte of this kind for less than 300,000, but the trouble and the labor which Stein puts into the making of it cannot be paid for. His instruments have this special advantage over others that they are made with escape action. Only one maker in 100 bothers about it. But with an escapement, it is impossible to avoid jangling and vibrating after the note in flat. When you touch the keys, the hammers fall back again the moment after they have practiced them, whether you hold down the keys or release them. So yeah, that's one feature about Stein's instrument. And if I may talk about my instrument, yeah, it's built in 1802. So this is not Father Stein's instrument, but his daughter Nanette, and his daughter and the son, they had a company together, and then they built the instrument that really follows. They really followed his father's piano making tradition. So it really feels like his father's instrument, except that this is one of their latest instruments that they made together. So it accepts that they have added half octave on top of it. But it also feels a little bit experimental thing that they've been doing. That the last half octave is a little bit, the sound is a little bit stuck. So yeah, compared to the main five octave, in a way that this 5-octave was sort of like added as an experiment. That's kind of how I feel. But it has all two stringings, also all the way up to up top. And yeah, it's not a loud instrument, let's say, and it's not a powerful instrument. It's you can make it powerful to have it, like you say, like to put a little bit of a bite of nuances. And then it reacts so fast. The nuances of this instrument is quite amazing. Actually, you can do so much of it, but you have to be really careful because it's how can I say this? You have to be really careful because it bounces, the hammer bounces because it doesn't really have the back check. Like like his their father's instrument were like that. So you have to be careful when you play hard, but in exchange, what you can do with your fingers and the touch is quite enormous. I have a feeling.
So Keiko, your instrument was built by the son and daughter of Johann Andreas Stein, the one who's mentioned by Mozart. And I'm just curious, have you found any particular differences between the, what we know as the Stein piano from the 1780s and your piano? Did they make any changes to the action, the daughter?
No, it's the same. It's really the same. So it's
the piano the piano changed so quickly between.
I know that's why it's probably
1850. There was enormous amount of inventing going on, so it's really hard to.
It's really hard, and
they didn't change anything.
That this piano was made, that it's already the beginning of 19th century. You might say that this is a very conservative type of the instrument, but you can really see that they followed their father's instrument making tradition. So
right, because he died in 1792, so he had been dead for 10 years. When the piano was made, and so it's the piano was made by Matthäus Andreas or Andreas Matthäus, I'm not sure, the son of Stein, and his daughter Nanette, and they then moved to Vienna because on your nameplate it says in Vienna. They together they moved to and they built pianos together, and then at some point they decided to split off.
That is actually that happened actually in 1802, and then this.
Right, it was right after that, and they each started their own building. And Nanette married Johann Baptist Streicher, and so she became known as Nanette Streicher. So Streicher pianos are also incredibly important pianos in the whole hierarchy, and it comes directly from Nanette and through Nanette to her father Johann Andreas. So if I may continue this line for a second, we have, because there's some interesting news for that the Catskill Mountain Foundation just acquired it's their own Stein piano, original Stein, by the son Matthäus, or who was later named André Stein and signed his instruments as André Stein. From a bit later, we're not exactly sure, 1820, 1830. He died in 1840 or 1842, so not exactly what the date is, because it's all brand new information. But so we will have an instrument, an original instrument by the same. Sarah, if you could maybe show the photo. That's the piano that was also built by the same. So built by the same builder as Keiko's piano. 20, 30 years later. He also built grand pianos, and that's his nameplate now, André by himself. So he's not just the frère anymore, as he was on the brother, but he's André. So that piano is now at the museum in Hunter. So if you want to come and see your own Stein piano, so this is an original piano. We still have some questions about its history. It's probably been in this country for at least 100 years, that we know. So anyway, so this.
When was the built year again? When was it built?
Well, we haven't determined, around 1830.
Okay.
So we're talking about 25 28
I
years.
see that it's massive in a way that it's built.
Well, that's this is really Biedermeier period. You know, it's the furniture is completely different in the style of the time. And this happened to all the Viennese pianos. They became these huge, big pieces of furniture.
It's amazing difference after 30 years, I can say.
It's action and slightly modified. That's why I'm curious, you know, that they didn't change anything on the Stein actions, you know, like the one that you have. It was still exactly the way Father Stein first created it. But then they went on different directions. And Nanette, but they all stayed with what they call the Viennese axiom, which is the hammer pointing towards the player and not away from the player. So it's still very much a Viennese action, even though it looks like a completely different instrument.
Let's look at the nameplate for Keiko's Stein piano of the brother and sister for a second to compare how much earlier it looks than the square piano. You can just see immediately.
Yeah, but both of them are at Augsburg, from Augsburg and Vienna. And now if we can see the other nameplate
again. Compare the other one again. We'll give Sarah a second. Yeah, that one.
So this is just Andre Stein, also from Augsburg at Vienna.
Great.
So it's different, but same person. 30 years, 20 years later.
Yeah. One wonders what happened between the brother and sister that they split, but in a way, good that they.
I'm sure that we can make a little story about over piano actions.
Patricia, you have a question for Keiko.
I have a little question that relates, all the family and also Mozart, which I thought that could be, right for this salon. And it is that I know that Mozart visited the young Nanette and Stein, probably in the same visit that you were talking about before.
Yes.
And so he was also talking about her playing, because apparently she had great talent and everything. He wasn't particularly complimenting her all the way through his comments.
He was quite critical about her playing, saying that the Stein means stone and then it's really stiff and things like that, right?
Right, exactly. So what is interesting to me is that, this is actually the way he made this critic about her. It is interesting to understand the way that he was thinking that she was supposed to be playing, right? So he was describing how she was using her arms and wrists and fingers, and in a way that, in his opinion, she had to change. But that is interesting to see how later on, when Nanette is already married to Streicher, then her husband actually, so Andreas Streicher, assembled some instructions to be given with the pianos from their workshop that are called Brief Remarks on Playing, Tuning, and Maintaining the Fortepianos, made by Nanette Streicher. And in my opinion, they contain some of the concepts that Mozart has suggested to Nanette's keyboard technique. And I was wondering if you could know anything about this. I'm sure you do. And how that you have an instrument that is like in between these two periods, how can you relate those or these instructions to the way that you were also mentioning a little bit before, the way that you should be playing on the instrument?
Right. Yeah, it's I don't know, but it's the one thing I can say is that I worked with so many piano technicians, and when the piano technicians are the pianist, or they can play a little bit, we as a pianist, we feel also a little better. And they know that they know what we are talking about. We can come closer to what we exactly mean, because when we are talking about the playing technique, it's such a subtle thing that you can't really say either this or that. It's not so black and white. So if they could feel it in a way that we are feeling it, that's like then I'm sure you're the same. I'm sure we feel really, really comfortable. And I mean, they don't have to be the players, of course, but it's about the feeling. And piano is maybe I'm not answering directly to your question, but piano in a way is a creature that we as a player relate to, and then we have a way to communicate with the instrument. And then I believe that the technicians also have their own way to communicate with the instrument. So yeah, I don't know, Nanette, maybe later figure it out from the side. Maybe as a technician, I'm not very sure. I don't really know.
Can I just say that at that time, in 1777, Nanette was 7 years old. So give her a break.
Yes, that too.
Yes, exactly. Yes, but I'm sure like the comments that Mozart made.
Well, he didn't like anybody. I mean, he was never had a good word to say about anybody. So
yeah, no, but I think Keiko, that was a great answer actually, because I'm sure that everyone has felt the same. And you know, when you try to portray the feelings into words, it's just like very difficult. And I'm sure that there was definitely an influence of those words in her, and also in her own experience by both playing and building, and that naturally developed throughout the years. And that now we can also do the same while playing. Also, like I don't play the same every day either. So, so yeah, totally.
Right. And also I feel that an instrument comes towards you if you play in for some years or some time, and then it's like if you have your own instrument and then you kind of create your own sound, and then somebody else plays it, and then the instrument reacts completely different, and then you don't believe that this person is playing on the same instrument, but it's like they also come to you and then they react, and then you make things together. That's something I feel. And then I'm sure technicians have their own language to go towards the instrument, and then instrument also comes towards them. It's to say.
Before we move on, I just want everybody to know that we're going to have another Salon in October that's going to be completely devoted to the Stein piano, which is a special study that was made by a Swiss builder, Mathieu Villon, who they went all around the world studying all the Stein 1783 pianos, several of them, and then built copies. And they're going to be presented in our salon, and students playing on it and talking about what it's like to play on the earlier Stein pianos. So stay tuned for more Stein in October.
Great. That's wonderful. And just the relationship between the instrument and the player and the technician is something that's really vital to what we're talking about. Another thing, we're going to segue now into another idea about performance practice, which is old recordings, because Keiko is going to talk about an upcoming album she's doing based on this research on old recordings and playing styles of the 18th and 19th century. And actually, I'm going to be sharing today as well an upcoming album of Schumann, which is based on recording research and Fortepiano. So, Keiko, tell us a little bit about your next album and how you conceived of this genesis of what you're doing there,
right?
In terms of Karl Reinecke and Mozart and all that. Yeah.
Yes, so like in the recent years, I came across with many recordings that are like that are made on the piano rolls, and that has like a very strong influence from the 19th century performance style. And then when I came across with the recording, if I may call it a recording, recording of Karl Reinecke, who was actually born when Beethoven was still alive, I think, and he was actually really known as a Mozart player, very celebrated Mozart player. When I came across with his recording of Mozart, then I was like, hey, this is really interesting, because this was nothing like you would or we would expect Mozart being played beautifully from our time. So like these days, I'm like, I find it very interesting that we have this gap of aesthetic sense in a way that they thought it was beautiful, and then now we hear in the concert hall when we expect Mozart is probably we have something in common. Like we go to the concert hall, and then Mozart, listening to Mozart, and then you expect something like this. But then when I heard the recording of Karl Reinecke, or the other recordings that are influenced by the 19th century performance practice, and then that's completely something else. And then you start to wonder why they do it, and then how they do it, and then, but in a way that it always struck me, first of all, I think by the sort of energy that they are always like in the moment, like they don't, maybe they sort of have a plan. This I cannot tell, but they really are instinctive all the time, and then they take it from the moment, and then you never know where it goes. It has such excitement, and also there are a lot of things that are sort of, let's say, forbidden nowadays in a traditional sense, that rolling all the chords, almost a lot of chords, and you don't hear so many chords played together, or like tempo. When it comes to the tempo in one movement, tempo gets fractured so much, like really so much, and then also to a certain extent that then you don't really hear the beginning tempo anymore sometimes. So it's really surprising, and tempo is really one thing, and like Carl Philipp Emanuel talked about this in his book, right? That talking about he talked about beautiful or artistic performance, and also correct performance. And I think he talked about the choice of tempos, the exaggeration of the agogic, or what else? The rubati, use of rubati, and I should have made a memo. I can't immediately find it. But those things I try to sort of incorporate it in my new Mozart recording. So yeah.
So now that's absolutely, and the last few minutes of our salon, I'm also going to share a little Schumann chamber music, which leans heavily on trying to acquire these techniques of arpeggiation and tempo flexibility that Keiko has mentioned, and that we can really hear there's hard evidence for this in the piano rolls of 19th century pianists like Karl Reinecke when they play Mozart. So we're going to play just a 1 minute video of Karl Reinecke playing some Mozart, and you can hear what these kind of performance techniques that we're talking about. Fascinating to hear the asynchrony of the hands. The bass often anticipates in chordal playing. And there's a lot to analyze there in Karl Reinecke playing this movement of Mozart. So thank you so much, Keiko. We're running a little bit low on time. Otherwise, we could talk about this forever. And this is exactly at the heart of a lot of 19th century performance practice discussions happening today with many leading scholars and music students about whether, we should even play with hands together anymore. Should we arpeggiate? Is our sense of tempo something that can be more spontaneous and flexible and related to improvisation? And it's my great pleasure to just share a little bit about an upcoming album that I've been working on for the past year of Schumann piano trios on period instruments. And this is going to be released by the Deux L label, which is an English label, in a week on May 24th. So I thought it would be an opportune time today to let everyone know about it here in the Salon. And it relates to what we've been talking about from earlier. Firstly, I recorded on a Streicher piano from 1838. So again, part of this Stein and Streicher family dynasty. Beautiful 1838 forte piano lent to me by John Irving, who's a piano professor in London. And this is by my trio called Trio Ilona. And Ilona Eibenschutz, speaking of early recordings, was a pianist who Brahms knew very well and admired very much in playing his music. So as I worked with my fellow chamber musician string players, Ravenna Lipchik on violin and Kate Wadsworth Bennett on the cello, we took time actually in the recording studio to listen to old recordings of pianists who had sent connections back to Romantic music. And we were recording Schumann, but we thought Brahms was pretty close. We listened to some of Ilona Eibenschutz, for example, playing waltzes and dances by Brahms to get a sense of tempo flexibility. And one thing we did within the chamber music setting is that we tried to not play together. If anyone has been coached in chamber music classes in a lot of school settings, you know that in the early stages, you spend a lot of time trying to play together. We actually very subversively, I guess, tried not to play together in the spirit of the asynchrony of the bass and the soprano that we heard a lot in old recordings, for example. And there's a lot of experimentation that the violinist and cellist did in terms of using different parts of the bow. And they studied heavily the recordings of violinists who knew composers like Schumann and Brahms, such as Joseph Joachim or Marie Soldat. So I just wanted to share a little bit of a live performance here that my piano trio Ilona gave about a year ago at Juilliard, where I teach. And we were starting to experiment with these 19th century performance techniques. In this video, I'm playing on a Roderick Gere copy of a Graf piano, and the violinist is Ravenna Lipchik. The cellist is Kate Bennett Wadsworth. This is the first movement of the Schumann D minor piano trio, and this piece will be included in a new album I'm coming out with next Friday on May 24th. And then I'll share with you a little sneak peek into one of the tracks from this upcoming album. That was an excerpt from the first movement of Robert Schumann's D minor piano trio. Next, that was yours truly at the Fortepiano, Roderick Gere Fortepiano with Ravenna Lipchik on violin, Kate Wadsworth on cello. This is my trio called Piano Trio Ilona, named after Ilona Eibenschütz, one of the great pianists who knew Brahms. We're coming out with a new album next week, May 24th. And I just wanted to take the last minute or so of our time together today in the Salon to give you a sneak peek of a track from Schumann's F major piano trio, which we also recorded with an original Streicher piano from 1838. And while we're listening to the track, you can see the album cover. And if you like what you hear, please check out the album next Friday, where we're experimenting a lot with 19th century piano performance practice techniques of tempo flexibility, different ways of sliding on stringed instruments, playing not together on purpose, to bring back the natural improvisatory spirit of chamber music that is in the 19th century. We're going to hear a quick 90 seconds of a track from Schumann's F major piano trio by Trio Olona. While you're listening, we would love to have questions from our audience. So please, if you have questions for our wonderful guest today, Keiko Shichijo, or any of our hosts in our discussions, anything that came to mind, now is the time to type in your comments and questions, and we'll have a few minutes at the end to come back on and wrap up with a few Q&A. So here's some Schumann to bring us out. Thanks. That was a bit of my new album coming out next week. Check it out, Trio.
Wonderful.
Thank you. And wonderful performance of Mozart that you shared with us, Keiko, today.
Thank you. And what you say is so true. On purpose, trying not to play together is so hard. I was practicing so much not to play together, which doesn't like we trained ourselves so hard to play everything together, and now undoing it is really difficult.
I think it relates to this description that Patricia brought up about Mozart talking about performance and what makes a good performance, that the piano is designed to hear different parts, like an orchestra or a counterpoint. Yeah. And arpeggiation was a later version of trying to separate the bass from the singer, from the soprano. And so, of course, I guess it became overdone or done badly. So at a certain point, all the piano teachers told us not to do it. But I'm personally very liberated to be allowed to do it again. So we have some questions. Can anyone share their experiences of playing on an original instrument versus a new copy? Thank you for that great question, Ernest Martin. Can anyone share their experiences of playing an original instrument versus a new copy?
Well, an original instrument is an artifact, and it's a document, and it's something that we treat differently, just because it is not only an instrument, it's also, like I said, a document that we preserve. So So I mean, I've done a lot of both, and although the good origin, there are plenty of good original instruments that are very good shape, but there's still always somebody who says, "Oh, but don't play too loud, please, because it's going to go out of regulation so quickly, and we don't have the same. We can't match the exact same felts or leathers or parts that if anything happens with a modern copy, it's like it came fresh from the store. You feel in some ways. I mean, Jos van Immerzeel is a famous fortepianist, historical keyboard player. Always made this point. He says it's much more authentic to play on a modern copy because Mozart didn't have a 200-year-old instrument.
That's right. That's really right.
A new one, and if he didn't like it, he sent it back, and he told the maker to come and fix it or change something, and that's the kind of relationship that we have with the builders. Hopefully that we say, can you fix this, and can you change that, and try something different. So it's not always exactly what you expect, but then there is some magic to playing an authentic and original instrument, as old as it is. I mean, I did a lot of playing on the original Walter piano, and it has a sound that you cannot match in any replica, really. So both have the good and bad. Anybody else? I had a few thoughts about the uneven playing, and I don't want to be the devil's advocate here, but I can't help thinking what happens if it's an orchestra playing, and everybody plays at a different time. It gets to be very chaotic very quickly, and then I'm only saying that because a lot of the music that we play on the piano is orchestral. And I always feel that there is a time to do it and there's a time not to do it because it creates not both chaos and you have to have something strict from which you can depart and then be free. And if you're free all the time, it's not free anymore. It loses its perspective a little bit of being in a different mode. And they were very, very aware of their modes, I think, and the expressive mode. Like if you play a nocturne of Chopin, oh my gosh, play all the unevenness. But if it's more like an orchestral or overture or something where it's tight, to me it feels wrong.
I think this is the interesting point that like the level that we think this is a chaos and the level that they would have thought this is a chaos was completely different. And of course we cannot really track it back, but it's worth trying what comes out. And then maybe we just completely experience the chaos. Like that's the difficult thing about the recording. I also recorded Beethoven and the Schubert piano trio, trying to do it this way and trying not to play together, and then making a pull, trying to push the tempo and then fluctuating the tempo, or maybe holding it back. And what's so difficult about recording is that then you make a nice take, and you choose a nice take, and then usually how you do is like you run you run some time, and then you choose a nice take, and then you sort of like fill it in the part that then you made a mess here and there, so. But that gets really difficult because you have a different flow, and then also like it's the recording industry itself that made us more and more expect to have a perfection and then the one tempo in total. So like if you, I think in the recording we have the most difficulty to really try out these things. Also to yeah, also.
Yeah, if I can respond to that, because I don't think there's anything spontaneous about it. I think it's like a good comedian. His jokes only work when the timing is perfect. And he spent a lot of time, getting it just right. But it comes across as if it's in the moment.
Right.
And that means that they worked really hard. So I think it's the same a little bit with free tempos. There's nothing free about it. It works the best when it's very well thought out. And of course, sometimes, it feels you come up in a different mode with a different. I mean, it happens to me so often that I made a recording and then I thought, oh, this is like so good. This is exactly the mode I want to continue. Yeah. And then the next day, I want a different. It's
right. Yeah.
It only works
what I feel. And also, on one hand, it's really well thought out, but then also you can feel that they were all really incredible improvisers. So they know how to carry on the music on the moment.
Yeah. In fact, I think that the reason that it's on the surface more free is that most musicians were trained in harmony and composition and improvisation much better than we are now. So if you listen closely, old recordings seem very free, but their sense of pulse and rhythm is actually much more highly trained than we are today. Because we tend to learn from notation, which is very surface in terms of the structure of the music. So, my explorations with this have actually, when I've really seriously started to study earlier types of baseline training, partimento, harmony, improvisation, that's where it made sense. This is when I began to understand why their rubati were so effective. So it's absolutely not a random thing. And also, when you do listen to old orchestral recordings, like I've studied a lot of arias accompanying my orchestras, they are completely not together. It's the singer is in a completely different.
The singer is in one place and the orchestra's another place.
Yeah, so I think
together.
That has to do with the culture of rehearsal time and being paid, and they were reading these things very quickly as they were composed. So it's a different.
There's one more thing that I really wonder about what your response is, because about the unevenness. So before they had recordings like we have, they had those rolls, with the little holes.
Yeah, we just heard one. Yes.
Right. Oh, that one is with the holes. Yeah. You cannot make too many holes on the same line. So I think they were often recording on purpose things not together because it's harder. There's a technical problem with having too many holes exactly at the same line. And I could be completely wrong, but I was wondering because if that has something to do with the particular style that's been handed down to us through these piano rolls.
But there are wax cylinders and acoustic recordings where, pianists that I've heard from the old style, they do still do more asynchronous playing than we do. Like, Edvard Grieg, well, no, those are rolls, but Ilona Eibenschutz or Itelka Freund, Fanny Davies, all these people I studied with Clara Schumann, they do a lot of this asynchrony. There's a great book called Off the Record by Neil Perez da Costa, if you haven't.
Right. Yeah.
It sort of sums up this history of recording and how it affects these techniques. But yeah. But you're right. I didn't know about the recording, the roll technology and how it affects.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting to think about.
Well, obviously, this is a topic we can go on for. It's really exciting. But thank you for raising.
Let's just come over and
yeah. It's just I think more uncharted territory with performance practice than, in my opinion, playing Brahms or Schumann and just doing it on gut strings. It's only the beginning in terms of 19th century performance practice. There's a whole uncharted thing there, a sound where people are looking for. So that goes back to the original sound. Any other thoughts? I guess we're running out of time.
Okay.
But thank you so much to our wonderful guest, Keiko Shichijo, to Patricia.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So
So
nice to see
much for having me. That was so nice. It was really, it went so quick.
Yes. Yes. Come back and view the salon again and check out all the wonderful activities coming up. Academy Fortepiano Performance in Hunter, the HKNSA Historical Keyboard Society, the festival.
We have also an improvisation demonstration by Nicola Canzona next week at the workshop. So improvisation and
lots of links to check out in your comments. Thank you, everyone, to our wonderful audience for joining us. We're going to go on summer break for the salon. We'll see you in the fall. So stay tuned.
September.
Yeah.
Look for announcements. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye now.
Thank you.